friends, welcome to another session, and today we'll be continuing on our solutions. And this is day 18. Great job, guys. And so today we'll be leveraging the CTE structures, particularly focusing on two key operators, union and union all. Let's quickly go over our use case. So sales and territory analytics teams need a consistent method to identify all customers active in February 2024 across multiple conditions. One group requires territory filtering, 1 to 5 territory, and while another requires filtering by revenue ranges between 1,000 and 2,500. A unified view allows analysts to track customer overlap, territory performance, and early stage customer value signals without manually reconciling separate data set. Your action here is to produce a consolidated customer territory list using the CTE-driven SQL query, combining date filter and revenue filter result through a union operation. Deliver the dataset to downstream analytics so they can generate territory heat maps, customer activity trends, and early value indicators for February 2024. Now, using our template, if we go through the tables that we'll need, because we are talking about revenue, definitely we need the order detail, and also because we're talking about territory, we need the order header. And then what are the filters we should look out for? First of all, we need to filter for February 2024, and then we need to have two different queries, one for territory 1 to 5, the second one for revenue ranges from 1,000 to 2,005, and then we'll then use our operators to see how we can combine those two queries. All right, with that introduction, let's quickly go to our lab. All right, now let's start with, so basically we're going to use our CTE to build a base table. So let's quickly do that. So we'll say we call the base table all customer as, and then we'll put that in brackets, and then we'll say select from. And so because we need two tables, we're just going to first of all start with order detail, which is great. Okay, so we'll put a space there, and then we have that, and then we'll join back to that outer join back to our sales order header. All right, and we call these odd, and then we join. We already know how to do this join. We join on sales order identifier. All right, so we'll do the same thing for detail dot sales order identifier, and then we'll then begin to select all the various attributes that we need. First of all, let's select all dots. Put this guy there, and also we'll do that dot. Actually, let's do customer ID and territory, or dot customer ID. Okay, we'll need that for sure, or dot, and then we have territory ID. Beautiful. And then we need some attribute from our order details, so we'll do that dot order quantity, and also we have that dot, and then we'll say unit price. Okay, awesome, guys. Okay, now that we have this, let's take a look if it works quite well for us. And so we'll say star from, all right, all customer, and then we're gonna run that. Beautiful. So it's working quite well. However, since we just need to focus on revenue, so why not let's just calculate our revenue once and for all. That's actually why we need the order detail. So we just do revenue, and then we call this revenue. All right, so let's run that. It should work quite well. Beautiful. And then we need to just add our filter here. So we need to add our filter here, and so we need to filter for February 2024, if you remember the question. So we do filtering and we use our extract year from other dates, okay, and say this equals to 2024, and we copy exactly what we have, and then we'll say this equals to month. Okay, beautiful. So now you see this is about 121,000. Right now that we filter for February 2024, let's run that. Beautiful. So this is all the records that we have. Great, guys. Now we then need to filter by different those filter requirements. So the first one, we're gonna call it customer territory. We'll say as. And then we're just gonna say select the extent in this case, and then we're gonna select all our column. First of all, let's pull in the table itself, which is gonna be all cost. All right, and then we're just gonna pull in the attribute that we need. Yeah, so we're gonna call customer ID. Okay, and then territory ID. Okay, so we're gonna have territory ID. Okay, and then okay, beautiful. So everything looks good. So we're just gonna come down to okay. So we call this cost territory, and then let's run that. Okay, okay, beautiful. It's working quite well. And here we can see that we still have 338. Let's filter for the territory. So we're gonna filter for the territory. So we're gonna say territory ID. Okay, is between 1 and 5. Okay, and then we're gonna run that, and so you can see that we have 107. Okay, that's great, guys. So we're gonna do the same thing for the revenue for the revenue CTE as well. So we'll say this is cost revenue, and we'll put that in bracket as well, and then we copy all of these because we are only interested in the customers. Okay, so now we'll just switch this over to revenue to 1,000 and 2,500. So if we run that, so let's switch over to revenue. Okay, so we can run this. Okay, so we have 267. Okay, now with this 267 that we have, then let's introduce our union operators. Okay, so let's have these as one query, so which you can kind of treat as two different tables. Okay, that's allowed, but we won't call it a table because we didn't persist it, we didn't create it as a table. So now that we have both of them, two tables, how do we join these together? Okay, this is where the tips comes into place, right? So basically we're going to do union, and what union does here is that it will combine these two together, and guess what, it's going to just basically remove the duplicates. All right, so for example, we have 107 here, 267, right? You would expect the total to be 274, but let's run this. So it's going to get rid of duplicates. Now you can see this is about 302. Okay, and then you now have union all, right? And then when you do union all, this is actually not going to remove duplicates, right? This is very key. Okay, so now you have these as 374. You see, that's what we expect before, not actually 274, 374. Now you can see this gives you some perspective, right? So basically all we are interested in, we're not in this particular solution, we're not interested in duplicate. Assuming we are interested in duplicate, we'll keep the duplicate for whatever reason. But in this case, we are not. So what we're going to do here is that we're going to go with union. And before we do that, just so that we see how to use union properly, okay? So I'm going to put this in a CTE as well. So let's say cost underscore union as, I'm going to put that in bracket, okay? I just want to show you a quick tip, and then we'll finalize this solution. Okay, now we have the customer ID we're interested in and the territory. By the way, when you are doing union, it's better to be explicit, even though I use that because I know that both of them are ordered correctly, but usually for best practice, just always make sure that you specify so that the union doesn't combine two columns that doesn't match each other. Okay, so that's why it's not a good practice to use a star as for all columns in this case, but in some cases it's you can just double check, but I would advise that you just keep it explicit. The list of columns should be very explicit. So when you run these because we put it in a CTE, so we'll now say select star from cost union, okay, and then you can run that, so you can see it working quite well. Okay, all right, now let me show you the pro tip I want to show you. Okay, let's say I copy this and I actually want to see these numbers, which one, how many is in customer territory, how many is in customer revenue, right? How do I do that successfully? So I'm just going to show you, just in case you might need it in your own work as well. So now I will have these as so basically let's call this so we'll have the CTE name as the table name, okay, table name, okay, and then we'll have this guy as a count, all right, and then we'll call this total count, okay. All right, now we'll do the same thing for the second one as well, okay, and then we'll say count as well. So now, and then we'll change this to revenue. So when we run this, we can basically now see, you can see the customer total number for customer revenue, customer territory, right? So that's one other ways that you can use union. There are a couple of use cases like that, but I just wanted to give you guys this tip. Now let's go back to our solution here. Okay, so now we want to pull the customer ID and then add some other attribute to it. For if you go back to our solution, let's quickly go back there, the sample we provide. So we need to add the first, last name and email address, okay, and also we might be able to just concatenate these two together, the first and last name. So let's quickly do that and then wrap up this solution. Okay, so now we're just gonna do select, all right, from, and then we're going to call it cost union, okay, which is this guys that tells us the actual customers and their territory, right? So we're going to do these guys cost union, and then we're just going to say star, and then we're going to, for us to pull the first, last name and email, we have to make our way back to person table. So let's quickly do that. Left outer join. All right, and then we'll do sales dot customer, and we call this, we can just call it C, and then we'll say on, call this CU, so we'll say CU dot customer ID. I think we should be able to pull customer ID somewhere here, so we don't have to type equals to C dot customer ID. All right, and then we can then join back to person table, okay, and we'll say person dot person as P, and then we can say on, C dot person underscore ID equals to P dot person underscore ID. All right, so now we have to be explicit here. So we'll say CU dot all columns, and then we'll say P dot first name, okay, and we'll say P dot last name, and also we'll do a concatenate and say P dot last name, okay, and then we'll say comma space, and then we also have this as P dot first name, okay, as full name. We call this full name. All right, and then we'll put the email address, P dot email address, and let's run that. So beautiful, guys. And then we just order order by one, and that's pretty much it. So when you look at your solution here, compare with the first 5 records that we displayed on that particular sample data, it should be the same thing. And this is how you can leverage CTE as well as leverage Union or Union Hall based on the solution you are trying to provision. All right, I hope you've learned one thing or the other. And let us know what you think in the comment section. Thank you for watching this particular episode, and I will see you in the next one.